Okay, now, the following question are for people who are probably my age and maybe a little bit older. But if you remember this, who remembers Dion and the Belmonts? And, a lot of you do. Oh, you remember them. Remember Dion and the Belmonts? I remember they were a big hit in the 1950s, early, the doo-wop era of rock and roll. The doo-wop era. You young people can Google that up. I remember one doo-wop song. When I turned 16, my dad used to play it a lot. It was called Get a Job. Anyway, it's true. And I did. Anyway, remember that after a while, they had some success. They were a big hit band. And then, of course, as the story goes, Dion's agents began to tell him, you know, Dion, you really are the super talent in this group, and they're starting to hold you back. You need to go solo, go on a solo career, which he did. He left the Belmonts and had a solo career, which was a smashing success until George, Ringo, and Paul, and the other one came across the pond, and that was the end of doo-wop, for those who remember that. But he had a good solo career for a while, he really did. For you younger people from the 80s, anybody here remember the 80s? Who remembers the Police? Oh, a lot of more hands there. Well, they had the same thing happen to them because their lead singer was a guy named Sting, remember? And that Police was a successful band. They had a lot of hits. Had a lot of videos on MTV, like about 10 videos they put out in 2 years. But then someone got to Sting. Sting, you know, you had some success with this group, but they're holding you back. It's time for you to go out on your own, right? Yeah, and Sting left. Sting had a great career. He still does. I said he's still singing, still making music, and that's great. And then, of course, it happens in acting as well, and it happens in sports. Who remembers Justin Verlander? My God, Justin got us two pennants with Justin, God bless him. And then, well, his agent came along and said, I can get you a boatload more money if you're willing to leave the Tigers. And well, you know, the Tigers couldn't match it. You know the fiscal story about that. Justin went on to leave and win 2 World Series. So, hey, you know, the guy had some great success. Doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes you leave and you disappear. Remember McLean Stevenson from MASH? No, he was from MASH. He was the original Colonel. He was on it for the first 3 seasons. He thought he was great. He said, boy, they said, you're awesome. You're the real comedy. It's not Alan Alda. You're the real comedy in this show. You should leave and have your own show. He did. And the silence represents how much we remember about any of the shows he ever did, because they never lasted a half season. It got so bad Saturday Night Live once made a joke about the fact that he never succeeded in anything else later on. God bless his soul. Okay. Why am I telling you all this? Because to understand the temptation and what the devil is using here and how the devil is approaching this act of temptation. It's all about, he's trying to get Jesus to say, look, he's been led into the Spirit by what? The Spirit. The Holy Spirit has led him. This is from his Father. The Holy Spirit is guiding him to this. So he's following his Father's commands. He has got a tight relationship with his dad, discerning what he's going to be doing here on this earth. This takes place right after the baptism. He's baptized in the Jordan, and he goes right into the desert. This happens literally right after. He's going to discern what this calling means. What is he on earth for? What is his purpose? And the devil, all of these temptations are all the same vein. It's basically, he's trying to get Jesus. Look, Jesus, I know your Father got you this far, but you really got to go solo. You really got to go on your own. I mean, look at these temptations. He's called to fast, and he's hungry. He's doing what his Father commands. Look, you could easily turn any of these stones into bread. Do something for yourself. Feed yourself. You know, you can go on your own and feed yourself. And, you know, he says, no. He says, every word, you not live on bread alone, but word that comes forth the mouth of God. He says, no, I'm going to follow my Father's commands. I'm not leaving my dad. Second commandment, same thing. He says, why don't you jump off the top of the temple? Your Father will be forced to save you. The angels come down and catch you. And it'll make a big scene because the plaza of the temple is filled with people who are going to see this. And you'll be a star. You know, this is for you. This is to tempt Jesus to become like a superstar. He refuses, of course. He says, you shall not put the Lord your God to test. My Father you shall not test. The third one, well then, okay, the food didn't work, fame didn't work. How about I just offer him the whole world? The whole world is yours. All you got to do is worship me. Translation, turn away from your father and worship me. It's all about trying to get him to go on his own. But he refuses. The Lord your God alone you shall worship, and him alone shall you serve. He doesn't take the bait. He doesn't take the bait. Now, there's nothing wrong with improving yourself in life. Nothing at all. Sometimes, it's not a bad deal. But when it comes to our faith, when it comes to our relationship with God, there's no going alone. We are either with the Father or we're not. And Jesus is with the Father throughout. Do you know, and Gordon did a lot of classes on this, so he can back me up, Jesus never did a miracle that was about himself. Every miracle he did was for others. A blind person that needed to see, a deaf person that needed to hear, a leper that needed cleansing, a poor sick girl that needed healing, a poor widow with a bleeding ulcer, even some poor people who needed to be raised from the dead, calming seas, feeding the 5,000. All of his miracles are about others. They're not about himself. He conveys the grace of his Father to all who put their faith in him. That he's not here to make a star of himself. He's here to raise everybody up so that they can come into the same relationship with the Father as he has. He opens all of our hearts, and he wants us to open our arms wide so that we too can receive the Lord and experience his grace and experience his love. Going on this earth, like I said, there's nothing wrong with improving yourself. Education and hard work are good things and good values. But in this Lenten season, let's take stock in, how we live our lives, and are we taking any time out at all for the care and concern of others? Because if we're not, then are we really in tune with the gospel message alive in our life in the Spirit of God? So our challenge this Lent would be, take our stock and see, is there something more I can be doing for others in the kindnesses that I do or say, so let other people know that the Lord is alive in me? Because every miracle Jesus did, he did for the people of the day, and he did for us. And so too must our lives.